Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome to the first Premier Division show of the season. I'm Keith Fitzsimons, that's JP Fahy. JP, you're delighted to be back. It feels like we're away a long time from doing actual shows.
Yeah, delighted to be back at it. Absolutely love doing these shows, and yeah, good to be back at it, ready for the new season.
All fish and ready and rediscovered your hunger and desire for it.
Yeah, for our sons.
Yeah, everyone be hopeful at this stage of the season, JP. Every single club, but that's what the amazing thing is about starting the season is everyone has a bit of hope. Even some clubs that might be struggling in certain instances, but yeah, I mean we'll start off with Bohemians and Sligo at Dalymount on Friday, and that's a game I'll actually be going to. I'll be in with the Sligo fans who apparently have sold out their full allocation, which is pretty decent because we see this where often clubs get slagged for not bringing big away support, but I mean it's very difficult for yourself as a Derry fan as well for the likes of Sligo etc. to week on week almost travel much further than clubs in and around Dublin. So financially it's more difficult, obviously, but also just a case of Friday night is awkward, like, isn't it? To be fair, so it's fantastic to see that from a Sligo perspective, and they're going into the season. Obviously, John Russell's still there. He's changed up the squad a bit. A lot of the players assigned from last season, particularly from abroad, have left the club. They brought in a bit more League of Ireland type players. There are still some players from abroad there, but mainly from the British market, really, aren't there? And obviously, Bowes, they've left a lot of their signs late and have brought in a lot of players from a couple of Poles, a couple of Estonians. And they might have signed another Polish striker by the time this video is out, by the way, and it's not Lewandowski. So, or maybe it is, who knows?
Is
But
it Podolski?
yeah, Podolski, yeah, he probably still do a job as well. But anyway,
Guys,
yeah, so so Bowes, there's a lot of I've talked about fans being optimistic going into the season, but I'd say Bowes have been very pessimistic. But how do you see this one? How do you see both clubs basically going into this one?
I think at this stage of the season, it's really hard, isn't it? They call
Exactly.
actual results
Scores.
or how games are going to go, but
Mhm.
um, go back to what you said there about the way in being sold out. I think when we look back over the last few years, especially um the couple of seasons that we've had after the COVID, um, the away games, the first game of the season always seems to attract a lot of away support.
Yeah.
I think last year Derry went to um St. Pat's and took an incredible away support to the point that they'd sold out the allocation and the corner of the stand, and there's a wee bit extra behind the net as well.
Mm.
Um, I think it's great to see. It's just a pity that those away attendances can't be maintained throughout the season, but that's just the nature of the league that we're in. That we play in a weekday, where most likes of Derry and Sligo, their fan base are working up until maybe 4 and 5 in the evening, and can't get away in time, and
And
um
notably, Sligo don't even play their home games on Friday, funnily enough.
they play on a Saturday, which I think attracts a good away support, especially when the likes of Derry come. I think touching on the two teams, I think they've lost a lot of good players, haven't they? League of Ireland players. I think Sligo have let a lot of experience go too, in the likes of Danny Lafferty and Galway, and I think that one of their players go to Galway as well. I
Who are
can't
their player?
touch
Yeah, Gary Buckley and Carl O'Sullivan. Yeah.
Gary Buckley and O'Sullivan. So
Yeah.
that's two good players, League of Ireland players that have
Mm,
gone down the road to Galway. So
mm.
um yeah, for Bows, I think they've got Rob Cornwall back, haven't they? So that's a plus for them. They're going to be without their captain and their leader for the majority of the season because he done his ACL just before the end of the season. So this is a game that, even though I'll bet the brand well, this is a game I'll be looking at and seeing what kind of result comes out of it, because these are two teams that most people will be looking at and thinking, they could be down near the bottom two. Because the last couple of seasons we've had Van Harps and UCD in the Premier Division, and you knew that if you finished above one of them, you would at least avoid automatic relegation. And I think it's so difficult now to call because Galway are coming up, Waterford are coming up, two very strong first division teams.
Mhm.
Have they recruited well
Mhm.
for the Premier Division? And
Well, full
have
time, of course,
Sligo?
as well. It has to be taken into
Yeah,
account.
exactly. And it's a apart from Drogheda, it's a near full time league, and we know Drogheda have the aspirations of going towards the full time league. So um, they looking. I was trying to
I read somewhere,
pick me.
JP, just to jump in there before it escapes my mind. I read somewhere where this is the first time every manager is going to be full time in the league, Premier Division. Whether that's
That,
true or not,
that, that's amazing. Because
mm,
when you go back, I
has
think
to be true, doesn't it? I'd say it
that's what
is.
I'm trying to think. Back to the last time maybe, um, when Bowes had the big money,
Mm,
etc., and it was around the time Shelburne and Derry.
mm.
I know Bray were always in and around the Premier Division then, and Eddie Gormley was the manager. And I remember us playing Bray down there, and we drew one each or son, and we were getting on the bus, and Eddie Gormley comes driving out of the the, the Carlisle grounds, and I think somebody one of the Bray fans said to me that he was on his way to work. So it just shows you that it probably is the first time ever, and
I
that's
think
the
so.
only
It'd have
thing
to
like.
be. Yeah.
That's what, and the reason I'm saying this because I'm trying to think back because that was the last time that the league, the Premier Division was probably a full time, completely full time league.
And also the
But
fact that when UCD are in it, the manager is definitely not going to be full time. So
they're always looking better than PhD. But there's a game that I'm going to be interested in because I think one when I was trying to pick me predict me table, I didn't know where to put these two. At one stage, I had both of them in the bottom two. Then I had them mid table. Then I had one of them somehow
they've
finishing
all been
top
swimming
four.
around my head in different positions as well.
Like so, I think this is a crucial game for both of them. Even though that's the first game, because both have a bit of upheaval. Nobody's expecting a lot from them. They're
But
actually
I think if
expecting them to
Bowes lost the
struggle.
first game at home, there's a bit of discontent there. I think that could send some over
Yeah,
the edge, even though it's the
yeah,
first game of the season. Honestly, I think if they lose
yeah,
this home match, there'll be
yeah.
rumblings.
I think it's crucial because whoever loses it's
Mm.
going to be they're going to be under pressure straight away after one game, aren't they? So, um, a lot of people, I think, throughout the league, maybe not within Sligo, probably didn't
Yeah.
expect John Russell to see out
Mm.
the entire last season,
Yeah.
and he did. And
Yeah.
they've entrusted him. They built a squad for this season, and he signed a couple of good players as well, like J.R. Wilson, who surprised from an outsider was surprised to see Shelburne let him go, but I think people that maybe knew a wee bit more about Shelburne would probably understand why he was let go, etc. So um, yeah, and I've already touched on the likes of Danny Laverty and David Colley departing as well, which was a bit of experience. But
Big
look,
Bulger too.
sometimes you have to go forward and
Yeah.
you have to maybe trust the young players, and I think that's what Sligo are doing here.
They're looking for a bit more fight, I think. I suppose we mentioned as well quickly that obviously Bohemians today got planning permission for an 8,000 capacity stadium that they hope will be ready by 2027. Now that depends what way the funding goes, but it's a good start to get planning permission because that once you get that, you're kind of you can be on your way essentially. So it's fantastic. Another stadium looking like it's
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
that's
going
amazing
towards
to
a
hear.
modern stadium basically.
Yeah, that's amazing. I
That's what
think
we
over the
want
past
all round, really. Like so.
we have to like it's the only way we're going to grow the league is have better stadiums. And just hope it's not another false dawn for Bohemians.
Mm,
I really do hope at this time it does come to fruition for them.
mm.
We've seen the new stand at Tala come to complete, and that's 10,000. Um, and Bows now have got permission for 8,000. If they can get, and then let's not forget their opponents, Sligo, they also have ambitions for an 8,000 seater stadium. And I know they've done redevelopment work at the showgrounds over the winter. They've to put in a new floodlights. So
Mm.
look, and then we're going to touch on it later in the show is Derry are redeveloping as well. And behind the goal with the ambition of completing the Mark Firestand as well. So it's all positives, and we just hope that these now have legs, and it can continue to grow. And let's not forget that down to the first division where Finn Harps are, they've been looking, they move stadium for about 25 years, and I just hope that they as well can find the funds, or get the funds from all means necessary to complete their stadium, because it's much needed, and it's the only way the product on the pitch is growing, and now needs to develop off the pitch as well.
Yeah, 100%. For this game, very difficult first game of the season, but I'll go for a 1-1 draw, JP. Chicken took the easy way.
I'm gonna go for 1-1 draw as well. I think it'll be very cagey, but I think
We're both being cagey.
yeah, I think both teams will not want to lose this game, if you know what I mean, as we already touched on. But if both lose,
Hmm.
or sorry, both can't
Yeah.
lose, but if one or the other lose, they're going to be under pressure straight away. But especially both, if they lose their first game at home against a team that they're going to be expected to be challenging against for certain positions, I just think it's going to be a tight affair.
Yeah. Derry City and Drogheda United at the Brandywell, and I'm smiling away here because obviously we know that away fans, and obviously particularly this weekend, they're only going to have 75 tickets allocated because of work being done in the Brandywell, as you touched on a second ago. But do you want to expand a little bit more on that, JP?
Aye, well, it's something that has come to fruition over the last year, and we've said there about ground development having false dawns, but this is one that was brought by the chairman, and basically why he did that was when the club when we all came out of the COVID era in 2021, and grounds started to open up again, and into 2022, there was the club put their season tickets on sale, and the demand outweighed the expectation, basically, that to the point that um they the South End stand, the only seats that wasn't sold as season tickets was Block A and Block B, which was the away section. So Block C to Block M basically booked out along with the Mark Farm stand and season tickets. And that's where the problem lies, because now the development is taking place at that end of the stadium. And they can't complete the development without taking away Block A and Block B. So Block A and Block B has to come down
Hmm.
before the behind the net can even start.
Hmm.
Um, and when I
Technically,
say
this
the
is a
majority,
good thing. Technically, it's what we want. We want our
it
stadiums
is,
to expand, and we want our
it is,
stadiums to be better. And there's certain things and sacrifices that have to be made to be able to do that in certain cases, and this is one of them.
yeah. And when I say the majority of South End stand is booked out in season tickets, I'm not saying 60%, 40%. I'm talking high 90s.
Yeah.
Um, so that basically leaving what the away fans have been given is basically what the,
Hmm.
the club can find without taking season tickets off people. Um, and I just don't think you can alienate your own fan base for the sake of trying to please away fans. And let's not forget that it's not just the away fans that's going to be affected by this. It's going to be Derry City supporters who don't have a season ticket, who aren't going to be able to buy a ticket for general sale unless they get a terrace ticket, which the terrace is either side of the Mark Farm stand. Um, the last two seasons, the general sale tickets that have gone on sale for the South End stand has been the returns from the away fans. And that's why the development's taking place, because the chairman wants to make more room available for those who can't buy a season ticket.
And by the way, this
And
money is coming from the chairman as well, isn't it?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, Derry City don't own the ground, the council own it, but the council are more than
Yes, they're
happy
paying
for
for it.
Philip. They pay for it, and that's what he's doing. And but not only that, it's been held up because there has to be a drain installed beyond. So if you imagine where the Brandywell is, got
Hmm.
Celtic Park, and there has to be a drain installed just past Celtic Park to help with the extra water that's going to be needed. They facilitate the toilets in the new stand. So I think that's what the hold up is at the minute. But just don't know when the work is. It was the club was they got their planning permission in September, and we're hoping they have it started straight after the end of last season.
Mm.
But the hold up is that, and look, hopefully we'll find out more in the next few weeks of when the development's going to start. But that's all I know of.
Yeah, well, I think it's brilliant because it's what has to be done. And I know fans can be annoyed. I can understand that fans might be annoyed, but at the same time, you need to look at the bigger picture and stuff. And by the way, for this weekend, now this video will be out on Wednesday, but as I speak, Drogheda haven't sold their away allocation yet either. So, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying a little bit, and I honestly think this is for any club. If you have, there's going to be people with season tickets there that are going to go at the very least to half of the games all season. As a fan of another club, there's a good chance you go to the Brandywell twice max over the case of the season. So you have to. If this was Pats, if this was, Galway United or Cork City or Shelbourne, same thing, I think. And
Yeah,
people just have to
I
suck it
know,
up for the bigger picture
I
and the
know.
progress of the league. And by the way, once this is done, etc., and finished and completed, there may be a better allocation going forward for away fans, ironically, as well, because the
Yeah,
stadium is going to
exactly.
be bigger. There's going to be a bigger
Yeah,
capacity. What about
yeah.
7,000 ish?
I
Maybe?
think about somewhere between 6 and 6.5. I think.
Yeah, somewhere like that, but still a
Um,
lot bigger than it is at the moment. Nearly
yeah,
Dublin.
exactly.
So,
And like the last couple of seasons, Derry could have sold out their home allocation twice over.
mm.
And that's basically why the chairman has decided they put his hand in his pocket and make do the development. They meet the demand because he wants to see more people in at the game. And
Mm.
um I've seen people on social media saying that well Bows are making a development and they were able they create a stand they create a stand for away fans, but the problem is the only bit of space
Where do you put
that
it?
was available in the Brandywell is a bit of space that's being redeveloped. So that's the difference between the Brandywell and Dalymount Park.
And the
Um,
other reason why Dalymount Park can only have the monostand can only have up to about 400, 450. But ideally, you'd want that to be a bit higher, but again, they don't have the space to do that because I've seen some
yeah,
people complain
yeah,
about that. It's all about space. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
People have to understand about space. The League of Ireland
Um,
grounds in general aren't in good nick. There isn't a lot of space. We have to do things that might hurt in the short term to benefit in the long term. It's as simple as that, I
yeah,
think.
and it's only going to be one season as well. Like I know there is the 10% um 10% away allocation or
Yeah.
whatever, but those rules that are built into participation agreement can be altered for extenuating circumstances, and
Mm.
this is one. This is
Yeah.
one of them, and the FAI do tend to do that if it's going to be short term. When you look back at they allowed us to move to McGinn Park in
Mm.
2017 because the Brandywell was being redeveloped, and McGinn was an excellent playing service. Um, just didn't have the facilities that you would want as a League of Ireland ground, but it done for a year.
Mm.
Um, and we moved back to Brandywell, and this is only going to be short term. We don't I don't think that if it work started say next week that it would be completed by November, but you would hope that it would definitely be completed by the start of next season. I know that's not ideal for the way fans this season, but short term loss for long term gain basically is what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, brilliant. As for the game, I think Drogheda um, won't like to face Hooban in the first game of the season. I think Hooban scored 2 goals to become Dundalk's top scorer of all time against Drogheda, and he's a bit of the scourge of Drogheda. So, yeah, Hooban will surely play in this game, and he's the man that Derry are hoping to lead them to seriously challenge, I think, for the title this year because their squad is pretty similar in a good way because they haven't lost any
Yeah.
too many players that they wanted to lose. Let's say they've added him and Daniel Kelly. They've had McMullen in since halfway through last
Oh,
season and Mullen also. Now they get a proper pre-season. So I'd argue Derry squad is definitely stronger, and you're hoping that Hooben's the final piece in the jigsaw. As for Drogheda themselves, lost a couple of players, but didn't lose as many of the really good players that normally would. Keely and Rooney, yes. But after that, you kind of go, not too many. They've added Pirot. He could be a big player for them this season up front. He was a bit of a coup. Warren Davis is a player one to watch. The usual Dara Markey's added experience with Jack Keeney and Dave Webster. and still have Connor Kane and players like that. He was signed up, but Drogheda I think will be hard to beat again this season. And I do think they went up to Brandywell and won once last season too, didn't they? If I recall, 2-1 maybe.
I, I think
But
they
Derry be
won.
looking to get off
They
to a good start here, JP, particularly because last season they were reluctant and said they had a chance to take advantage at the start of the season against Shamrock Rovers, and they probably feel they didn't take it. Now, I'm not saying Rovers are going to have a slow start, but Derry will still feel, look, we need to be at it from minute one to if we really want to win this title.
Yeah, well, if Pat Hoban's not going to be the final piece of the jigsaw, you just wonder who he is. Like,
It is.
um, he's been the most prolific goal scorer, I think, in the League Ireland over the last 10 years, and that was him
Pound
having
for
two or
pound, the
three.
best striker in the league in the last, yeah,
That was
10
him
years,
having 2 or 3 years away, like in
yeah.
England. Um, I think I said to you, Keith, at the middle of last year that when Derry were tight with Rovers for the league, and we were lacking a goal scorer. I think I might have said to you, I would go to Dundalk and say, "What do you want for Hoban?" and
I
basically
think you
just
did,
give
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And if he
They must have
wins us
heard
the
you.
league, happy days. Um, but they could have. That's something that, in hindsight, you would like to do it in the mid-season, but it's just not always practical. But they've done it in the close season. They got there eventually. And they s- they started pre-season really well. He got a couple of goals away at Sligo. I think he scored up at Glenavon as well, and I think he scored a couple of
And
other
not just
goals as
that,
well. So
JP. He's just he's nasty to play against, if you know what I mean. He'll annoy you. He'll score.
I
Those Derry had a lot of draws, particularly Brandywell last season, where kind of you thought maybe Hooban type player could turn some of them into wins, and that can make a huge difference.
yeah yeah like I always just whenever we went down to Dundalk at the first time last year, we were 1-0 up, I think, and we were missing some good chances. And we need to take another one before Hoban comes off the bench. And he came off the bench, and within 10 minutes, they were 2-1 up. And it's just so he just scares centre backs, I think.
Mm.
He
He
might
also
not
is
be
very
the quickest,
demanding with players around him, which is not a bad thing either.
yeah, and he knows where the back of the net is. He can take a penalty.
Good in the
He's
air.
played with Yeah, good in the air. He's played with McElhinney and Duffy and Paxson before, and Dan Kelly as well. So
Mm.
it's
Well,
not like he's
McMullen is a player that I've mentioned previously. That's a very good crosser of the ball. Now,
yeah,
McGonigal mightn't be the best foil, let's say, for that, whereas Hooban, completely
he
different
would
style.
absolutely thrive on it.
Mm,
Thrive on it. But as you say, he brings a lot more than just scoring goals. He
mm,
brings you
presence.
say there he demand a presence.
Mm,
He demands of the players around him as well. Like and that's what you need. You need leaders in your team and throughout your team, and I think we have it now right through the spine of the team. And we've got Conley at the back and McElhinney in midfield. And now you've Hoban up front, and don't forget you've Michael Duffy, Dan Kelly, um, etc. Who have won leagues elsewhere. Donegan as well. And let's not
mm.
forget Kieran Harkin's coming back into the fold
Yeah.
this year as well. So he's another good addition. They are squad, and I think any players that we did lose were fringe players from last year.
Mm.
And it's players that you didn't you were disappointed to see go. But at the same time, you don't want them sitting around.
Yeah,
With
if they
with
weren't utilised, they're not losses, put it that
you,
way. Yeah.
exactly call them huge losses to the squad, but the two cabinets I went were I
Mm,
liked them so that I really did, but
mm.
um unfortunately they weren't used enough, and they have to do what's best for them, and they're both now at Pats, and we've got Dan Kelly and Pat Hogan through the door, and let's just see how the first game goes, because I think if we can get off to a good start, it will give us good a good indication of how good we can be.
Yeah, for this one, I think, as I said, Drogheda are very tough to beat, and they won't make it easy for Derry up there. But I think Derry might have enough. I think Derry might nick this 1-0, JP.
Yeah, I think Drogheda. Like, I know they won at the Brandywell, Tala, and Richmond Park last year. Um, and I'm not sure if they're the only team. I'm not sure if they.
Sorry, what happened there? Go on ahead.
I'm not sure if they were the only team to do that. Um,
I think they are, JP. Yeah,
I wasn't sure if they were the only way team to do that, but
I think they
if they
are. Yeah,
are,
yeah.
it was an absolutely incredible achievement for them. They are tough to beat. They were always tough to beat, Kevin, and they were tough to beat under Dara Doyle.
You
I
can
think
never take them for granted, like, can't you not?
they've been
No.
even more
Kevin
tougher
Doherty's
under
full time this year for the
Doyle.
first time,
Yeah,
also.
and that's
Mm.
a huge boost for them. Like his 100% concentration now is on the Drogheda job. It's nine, not even 95. It's 24 hour.
Mm.
His brain will be Drogheda mad and how to get the result on a Friday night and not have to worry about what he's going to do between the hours of 9 to 5 during the week. Like so, um, great for that for them. And I don't know what to expect from this game now because you can't read too much in the pre-season either. And
Oh.
um, I know Derry were slow starting pre-season, but as the pre-season went on, they got stronger and stronger. And um,
They both
I
beat
don't think.
Dundalk in pre-season, as such.
um,
Although Drogheda will say it wasn't pre-season, the pre-season, but still, you know what I mean.
yeah, but
Dundalk fans are
I'm
going to
going to
kill me
say
already. The
2-0
first
Derry
video
for
on
this one.
Dundalk fans are going to be at me.
I think I'll say 2-0 for Derry for this one. I think I think we'll see a couple of goals, and I'm going to say 2-0 Derry.
Yeah. On to the next one. That's Galway United and St. Patrick's Athletic. And you can argue there's a bit of not form for St. Pat's, but we saw them in the President's Cup against Shamrock Rovers, and let's be real, they're very, very disappointing. Galway, they've in DC Park first day of the season. Goodell, Ollie, and John Caulfield. Want a packed crowd in there. They'll want to pump balls into the box, set pieces, things like that. Test that young goalkeeper for Pats, Marcelo, after last
Yeah,
week, especially when he looked a bit maybe shaky. It's hard to know what word to use, but maybe a bit shaky. But Galway will really want to test St. Pat's in this game. I think Pats will know that they're going up there even before the game last week and realise that this is a difficult opening fixture, isn't it?
yeah. I don't think there's many fixtures outside um, Derry and Shamrock Rovers. I think
Promoted
Pats.
teams in the first day of the season away from home was always a bit of a banana skin, I think.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think Galway countered to the first division last year, didn't they? And
Mm.
um, they had a lot of time. They prepare for coming into the Premier Division, and I think they've signed a couple of good Premier Division players
Haven't
that they're ready
lost
for.
anyone, JP, which is key as well. Like, they signed Patrick
Yeah,
Hickey from Athlone and he's 6'5", these type of players, big physical team. They've just a very good squad. David Hurley's a player like in midfield as well. They've Brendan Clark's experience in goal and the
yeah,
two boys as you mentioned earlier from Sligo, Buckley and
Gary
Carl
Buckley,
Sullivan.
Sullivan.
And
Yeah,
not
so
only that, but Caulfield had Buckley at Cork, and sorry, Horgan had Carlos Sullivan at Finn Harps. So new players
mm,
that they're familiar with as well. So
yeah.
and they've kept the
And
bulk of that squad.
they brought a few young players in from England as well. They can look. We know that never always works, but when you've got
Mm.
a nucleus of players that know the league, it's easier
Yeah,
for them
yeah.
to settle in. The division where unlike
Mm.
Bows where
Mm.
they're bringing in a raft of players
No,
from
I
all
still
around
think
Europe.
JP, to be honest, when I've looked at the other teams, I still think in terms of individual quality overall, they probably have the weakest players compared to the other sides. But they have a way of playing. They're very well organised. Caulfield and Horgan, as I said, massively experienced at both ends of the table.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and just the type of players they bring in, they're just so they're it's the better than the sum of the parts of Galway, isn't it really like?
yeah. It'd be interesting they see what way Galway are going to play. Like as you say,
Mm,
Caulfield and Horgan. Horgan knows how to keep a team up.
mm.
And Caulfield knows how to have a team challenging at the top end of the division. Now that's not me saying that Caulfield's gonna uh have Galway challenging for
But
the title
even
this year. But
Caulfield had a reputation of being quite defensive at times and maybe a bit direct, as does Ollie Horgan. But the difference was Caulfield was just at the higher end of the table,
yeah,
and Horgan generally lower end of the table, obviously. But they obviously work very well because when they first got together, you thought, geez, that's too much ego for one room. But clearly,
Yeah,
it's actually
yeah.
working very, very well
You
for them.
didn't think that you didn't
No,
think Horgan going from being a manager,
I thought it
they
was a strange one when it happened. Yeah.
it just shows you. I think that the character of Ali Horgan that he was able to do that, and he was like he loves coaching basically. He makes players better. You could see that at Finn Harps. He was maybe signing players that nobody heard of, or maybe players that were let go by other clubs, and he was turning them into they quite half decent players. Like you look at is it Owolabi,
That's right. Yeah.
um he was a good player at Harps, went to Pats, didn't really
Mm.
um do the business there, went to Cork again, didn't really do the bit, and now he's over playing in the non-league in England with Macclesfield. Like so, his best football in Ireland was under Ollie Horgan. So like it is a good combination, I think, for Galway. They have somebody who knows how to win the league and somebody who knows how to stay in the league. And it's something that they can use this season. They consolidate themselves and see where they can go from there. But Pats, after winning the cup last year, all the expectations is on them now. They challenge
Signed
Shamrock
well,
Rovers
JP, but
tonight.
the issue still remains there, in my opinion, that they lost a lot of players as well. They're good players. Like, they lost more good players than Derry or Rovers lost, put it that way. Like you still, Dean Linus was very good, experienced keeper, could organise the defence, and they were comfortable. The keeper that's come in now, you're kind of unsure. That's the point, isn't it? Sam Kersh has gone, absolutely brilliant player. Even at 17, was the best right back in the league. Adam Murphy, another one gone. Mark Doyle was underrated, in my
Ben
opinion, scored quite a few goals. And Tommy Lonergan. It's a lot of good players have lost, even if they've signed quite well, isn't it?
And Ben McCormick was another one. I'm not
And
sure how
McCormick,
often
yeah,
he
yeah.
featured for them, but he was still a quality young player for them that you could,
Mm,
that if he was brought onto the team, um, he would never look out of place. Like you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
yeah, they've lost a lot of good players. Um, and I think people expectation of Pats of yeah they're going to be Pat Rovers nearest challenger or whatever is based on that they signed early, so
Mm.
they did. They went kind of took their time, etc. And
But at
I'm
that
not
time,
saying
you
that
didn't
Pats rushed
realise who
into
they
the
were going to
market. They knew
lose,
exactly
also.
what they wanted.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There were still a lot of
Yeah,
players who weren't sure.
yeah, and they wanted to make sure that they were covered for them kind of players losing. Now, I think Tommy Lonergan going in the last few weeks it was a bit of a kick in the teeth for them, but
Mm,
and especially in the way it materialized.
mm.
And he scored I wouldn't say a decisive goal, but the final goal in
I
the
thought he
FAI
was
Cup,
starting to
and
get to show
yeah,
his he can finish. And he was just taking a bit of
yeah,
time, but I felt this was the season where he could have really. They'd have signed well, as I said. Rory Keaton, I think, is a very good signing, and other players. But we're talking about in terms of winning the title and stuff like that. I think it'd be difficult. Even if, say, they were hypothetically good enough in terms of their players, I still think it would more than likely take them more time than it would for Derry or Rovers to sort it out, and by that time be too late anyway.
yeah.
So I think maybe
Need
the expectations are a little bit unrealistic.
I think
Because of
when we were
that.
talking off air was um basically you were saying that some Pats needs their signings to be good now, not in a
Now,
couple of months,
yeah.
where Derry and Rovers could maybe
Mm.
s- get away with it a wee bit more because they
Well,
more
the
of a settled
Rovers
squad.
signs Rovers made mainly were players either played in the league or that they had last year and they've brought back. And the signings that Derry made are like Kelly and Hooban. So you'd expect them to be able to just simply
The ground running.
fit in to an already settled squad in terms of Shamrock Rovers and Derry. So I just think from Pat's point of view, and it's not even putting them down. It's just a case of you have to look at it that way and be realistic and see, Jesus, that's very difficult.
Yeah, we do believe that they're going to be up there challenging. We're not writing them off. Um, they will be there pushing Derry and Rovers all the way. Um, and they'll be difficult. They beaten. They'll be one of the favourites to win the FAI Cup as well. So we're just trying to look at their squad and see see where they lost players and where they had to replace them. And Keaton's going to be an interesting one because I think people are suggesting that he was a good player in a bad Cork team, and can he make the step up the St. Pat's? And look, I've watched him against Derry last year, and
Mm.
he did well for Cork, despite the lack of service. So I have no doubt that with greater service
I
from
think
St.
he was.
Pat's that he'll do the business for them. But can he be as prolific as say Hoban at Derry or
Mm.
some did Shamrock Rovers? Now I know Shamrock Rovers haven't had a prolific striker in a few years. They've kind
Don't
of
need him.
they haven't needed to. They've shared the goals around
Goals
their
everywhere. Yeah.
squad, haven't they? And I think if Pats are going to challenge, I think
Mm.
Keaton's going to be key to that.
Mm.
But I think they signed um, Brandon Cadden, who's a very good player as well. Um, Disappointed to see him leave Derry, but he didn't really feature. He was more of
Yeah.
a fringe player rather than a starting 11. And same with Keane Cadden, and he's a good player that if you're struggling and you need a goal, you can fire him on. And because he did it a couple of times for us last year, even like he scored home and away against Coops in Europe, and that's a tough thing to do. And um, he's another good player. But look, this is going to be an interesting fixture again, and it's a hard one to call. But I think Pats might just script it 2-1.
Hang on for another 1-all draw. The champions, Shamrock Rovers, take on Dundalk, and of course, Shamrock Rovers are going for their fifth title in a row, which is unprecedented. And I think I've spoken about this before, and the hunger and desire it takes to go and win title after title. But if you've that carrot in front of you that you know you can win one more title and be that set of players, set of managers, coaches to go and win one more title and do for the first time ever win five in a row, um, it's a big carrot, isn't it, for them going into the season?
Yeah, because we saw last year where they became the team that equaled the record, which was incidentally Shamrock Rovers in the 80s.
Mm,
They now have the chance to become the kings basically, and they're out on their own and
mm,
something that nobody else has done.
Essentially,
Um,
Shamrock Rovers can beat Shamrock Rovers.
exactly. And it's just the kind of the club they are. Like they are the at this moment in time the cream of the crop in Ireland, and um, we know they had that period in the 90s and
Mm,
the 2000s where they couldn't they couldn't buy a league title, but now
mm.
they've
I think
won
shifting
four in
around
a row.
grounds didn't help them. Moving to Tala
Yeah,
Stadium was a
it
massive
didn't.
plus.
It didn't. And be as we've seen, like since they've moved to Tala, like they won two titles under Michael O'Neill, and now they've won four in a row under Stephen Bradley. And look,
And the FAI Cup before that too, yeah.
exactly, they are a team to be. You have to admire them, really.
Ah,
You
yeah.
do.
Mm,
If you want the if you want to be the best, you
mm.
have to look at Shamrock Rovers and say, well, how do Shamrock Rovers do it? Can we match that? How do we
And
better
they
it?
showed a bit of that in Tala Stadium in the President's Cup last week as well, to be fair, didn't they? And you just look at some of the players who weren't even available to them. Jack Byrne, Aaron McAneff, Graham Burke, Pico Lopez.
Yeah, he's
And that
he's
doesn't
away
count the
playing.
lads that came on like Lee Grace and Dylan Watts who were on the bench, Trevor
He's away
Clark.
playing at the. He's
And you
away
just
playing at
realise
the
you kind of
African
forget and
Cup
you
of
look at them
Nations.
again and go, "Whew."
Mm. It's scary when you look at what they had and what they were missing, and you're like, who can get near them? Like basically is what you're saying, and
Hmm.
um,
Hats cutting
I
last
think
Friday anyway.
no, exactly. Um, uh, it's just basically if they give you a head start this year,
Hmm,
you have to take it, like
hmm.
they did last year. They hadn't won any of their first six games, and they won the league with games to spare, and it just shows you the quality in their team. And
That's the
um,
scary thing, JP, because I think they underperformed as such last year, didn't they? A little bit.
it did. And you're asking yourself the question: can they underperform again this year? Um,
Probably
and I
not.
don't think.
No.
I think if a
I think
team,
they
I think,
realised that though, JP. I think they could realise
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think it's basically what Stephen Bradley will be saying to these players, and he would have said it in pre-season and whatever is, guys, we were we won the league last year, but we didn't play well by their standards,
Mm.
and that's exciting. They won the league and they were better than the rest, but they were below the standards that they'd set themselves in previous years, and they'll want to get back to that standard. And like as you say, they've got a carrot. They become the kings basically. Um, and I just hope I just hope that Derry can give them a good challenge because when you look at their squad, it's even if they get in, pick up a couple of injuries or suspensions, I don't think it's going to affect them the way it's going to affect other teams.
And also as well, JP, if you have a knock or two, you can kind of go, okay, Gary Neal has a knock. We won't play him today. We'll play Dylan Watts or we'll play whoever it is, Richie Towell. You can do that. Whereas, say, Pats, for example, Chris Forrest has a knock. God, we can't
You're
leave
going
him
to
out.
risk them. Yeah, you're going to risk them.
It's a massive difference to be able to do that, isn't it? So it's a huge thing. As for Dundalk, there's been a serious change to Dundalk, hasn't there? Obviously, Brian Ainscough is the new chairman of the club, and they've lost a lot of experienced players, a lot of League of Ireland type players, including obviously Hoban and Kelly, as you know, but other players who like your Nathan Shepherds and
Yeah.
such like, and
Conor
Greg
Malley.
Sloggets, and they've added players. O'Donnell tends to shop in the Scottish market really, and we look. Let's be honest, we don't know how well they'll do. A lot of them are from the lower leagues in Scotland, and you're kind of going. The only
That's
one player they've brought in from Ireland as such is Dara Keane from UCD. So they're very difficult to judge, aren't they? They still have Daryl Horgan, of course. His experience and that, and the likes of Benson, but can you keep Robbie Benson on the pitch is the big question. And I'd
John
expect Ryan O'Kane at 20 now to maybe start to push on a little bit more. Very difficult to judge Dundalk on into this season. And, if
that's
Rovers
the
play
thing.
anything like they did against Pats on Friday, this could be a big
It could
result.
be.
Yeah.
That's that's the thing that would scare me if I was a Dundalk fan is the signings are coming from Scottish lower leagues, and
And late, most of them.
yeah, and late and
So
unknown,
they
and
weren't really considering these players too much before, I would suggest.
yeah, no, and that's what would scare me, as I say, if I supported Dundalk, because in my opinion, that the leagues that they're signing these players from, the League of Ireland is a
Mm.
much better quality. Like they've signed a player from Kelty Hearts, they've signed a player
Mm.
from is it Wraith Rovers,
Great,
um,
yeah, as well. And there's a few other
um,
clubs there. Yeah, I mentioned them in the
yeah,
previous video, but I've forgotten now. But yeah, they have.
I
I
know
mean, one or two of them might do well, but they might need
they've
more
brought
than one or
what
two of them to do well.
they brought a guy in from here. I'm just looking. They brought Zach Bradshaw in from Lincoln, and we know how well Drogheda's loanees from Lincoln have performed over the last few years.
You'd argue if
The
he was
fact
good, would he not have gone to Drogheda? Because if it's still a bit of a link there as well, you wouldn't know where Drogheda interested in him. I'd like to know that, you know?
that exactly like
Because there is
and
still a bit of a link there, even though it's they're not a sister club as such. Drogheda have done it a lot, as you say. So
yeah,
interesting that, so Drogheda have brought in a couple of players actually from Lincoln before
again,
Dundalk did that. So you're kind of
yeah,
looking at, did Drogheda get the best ones that were on
get
offer?
the best ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
have done that. Picked up what was maybe left of who they were looking to loan
Mm,
out, but
mm,
they're just a hard team to call because
mm.
I was talking to a couple of people. It was not necessarily down at the match last week again. Um, Dundalk in the friendly, but had spoken to um players, whatever, and said that Derry did play well in that game. And,
Mm.
they get the 3-0 win for Derry as well. But it's hard, as I said, you can't judge much in pre-season.
No.
But I think Dundalk are another
It's
team
hard to
that's
be
going to have to.
positive if you're a Dundalk fan, though, is it? I mean, it's unknown, I know a
Well,
lot of it. It's hard to be positive,
well,
particularly where
it's
they've come
that
from in the last number of years. Like,
it's that start of season optimism, isn't it? Everybody's positive going into the first game of season, and then whenever you watch
till
the
they get
first game,
battered.
you watch it and you come out with you're not as optimistic, but you're hopeful that you can maybe perform a wee bit better. But
Mm.
um, I just I don't see Dundalk threatening the top four this year. I think they'll be doing well. They maintain a mid-table finish and keep themselves away from the bottom end of the table. And I know
I think
that's
if they have a
that
bad start, JP, when I say a bad start, I mean the first quarter, say first 9 games, they're near the bottom of the league. I think there'd be a lot of discontent with the fans there as well. I think big time.
Yeah, exactly. Like 4 years ago, if you had thought you were going to be sitting discussing Dundalk as being potentially a team that could be fighting it out, they stay away for they keep their heads above the playoff line.
Yeah.
Uh, you would have laughed. You would have laughed at yourself. But that's basically the reality that they're in, and we can't really judge them but until we see them because we don't know anything about their signings. And as you say, they've lost a lot of League of Ireland quality.
But even say
Um,
if some of their signs are really, really good, just throw it out there as advocate that they were. It's still so much change. It'd be very difficult to form a team with them very quickly, I think. And
and
Stephen
not only
O'Donnell
that,
moaned that a little bit last season, didn't he? So I wonder what he's thinking this season.
and not only that, I think some of them are only on loan. They
Yeah,
they they
they've
June.
three on loan, and I think they're looking to get another on loan. So they're going to use the maximum amount of loans, and they could be gone in the summer.
Yeah,
That
that's
could be a
that's my
good thing
point.
if it's not very good. But if they are
They,
good,
they could be gone in the summer.
yeah.
I know when we had Kenny Shields as manager, there was a lot of turnover in players, and
Mm,
um, I think there was one season where we'd signed maybe 10 players before the start of the season, and
mm,
then come the July transfer window, there was another 10 players come on. They replaced 10 players that gone, and we know we know where Dundalk are coming from, the upheaval uh, that it causes, and you can't really build a team. You can't really build a team because
no.
when you look
Any
at,
degree.
but
You can barely build a team for the season, let alone beyond the season.
exactly, like I think Brian Ainscough came in a tad late, in my opinion,
Yeah.
very similar to the guy at Cork last year. The takeover didn't take place early enough for them to be able to build a team and get a good team together and
And he'd probably need a
have a
year anyway to
competitive
have a
team.
good overlook of the place.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is a year for Dundalk just to consolidate themselves in the Premier Division and make sure that they're nowhere near the bottom end of the table and
And look at
just
it next
get
year.
through just get through this season, see where they are come the end of the season, and then set your targets of getting back to where Dundalk fans and the club will believe that they belong, and that's challenging for the European places and the trophies.
Mm. Yeah, as for this game, I find it difficult to see Rovers not winning reasonably comfortably. I'll go 2-0 actually, Shamrock Rovers in this one.
I can see Shamrock Rovers not winning this game.
I'd be
I'm
shocked.
going to.
Mm. Yeah, I'd be shocked.
I
Fine.
think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a big scoring game for Rovers. I'm going to say 4-0.
Finally, Waterford FC back in the Premier Division after getting promoted through the playoffs last season, taking on Damien Duff's Shelbourne, who finished very strongly last season, finished fourth. Now they've lost Jack Moylan and Harry Wood went back after his brief loan spell. But it looks like to me they have a bigger squad, a bigger set of players to choose from. And whereas they were relying on Moylan with goals last year, this year if they can keep him fit, they've got the likes of Liam Burt, Manny Smith, who I think might play up front a lot, a bit like when he was at Pats. John Martin is capable of chipping in with some goals, isn't he, as well? Shawnee Boyd is still there. Will Jarvis has come back. So although they lost Moylan, I
Ward,
think. Hmm?
Keith Ward as well.
Keith Ward, whereas and Sean Gannon, a bit of experience there too. So especially in the attacking areas, they've even though they lost Moylan, I think they've added a few more strings to their bow and they've more options in those attacking positions. But they'd be looking to definitely finish in the top four, potentially higher if say things didn't go as planned for Pats. Let's say they were worse than we thought or whatever. But Waterford, Keith Long, obviously vastly experienced manager, and that's a big thing for Galway and Waterford is the experienced League of Ireland Premier Division managers that have done good jobs are at the helm at their clubs. And that was no surprise for me when he started to bring in the likes of Darry Leahy, who was excellent under long at Bows, Robbie McCourt, he had him before, and such players like that. They still attack the foreign market, which they are going to do with the Fleetwood link. And Waterford tend to do quite well with that. Barry Bagley, for example, has come back from Fleetwood on loan. He's actually a really good player. Keep an eye on him. Connor Parsons, another player I like. Now, you'd wonder, have they got the squad? Their squad looks weaker, their actual squad, you know what I mean, than a lot of the clubs. But they do have a decent starting 11. They've got some talented players there, and as I said, Keith Long is there too. But again, in the same for Pats going to Galway, it's not easy for Shelbourne to go to Waterford in the first day of the season. Shelbourne obviously won there a couple of years ago, didn't they, in the FAI Cup? It was the semi-final down there too, and they nicked it 1-0.
Yep.
They take the same this time, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
I think all 10 clubs, whether they're home or away this weekend, will take a 1-0 win, even if it's
Even
an OG
Shamrock
in the
Rovers.
91st. Yeah, even Shamrock Rovers, even if it's a 91st minute OG,
Yeah,
they'll all take a 1-0 win.
yeah.
I think we've touched on all the signings that both teams have made, but I think the biggest signing Shelbourne made was Damien Duff. Because we know that after the close of the 2023 season, we we know that there was a lot of uncertainty around his future because
I think
the
he's the
then
most
owner.
important player, most important person at Shelbourne. I really do, because I still think JP, when I look at all the teams live and that, him and Joey O'Brien, I think they're the best coach team in the league, to be honest with you. Mightn't have the best players, but they look the best coach team in the league. And I think he's the most important. His personality is big and draws the crowds at Shelbourne as well. Because you have to remember, Shelbourne's crowds have been behind the other Dublin clubs for a while now because of, obviously first division and coming back up and going down again. So they've had to catch up in that sense. And this is
Yeah,
massive for them to
and
have Duff there. Like,
yeah, we know that the previous owner he was looking to instill somebody who had the same beliefs and philosophies as Lamer Senior does at Hull City, and I don't think if you're having I can understand people wanting to have links, but I don't think the parent club should dictate what way the other club plays. Um,
definitely not.
um, and I think it was good for Shelbourne that their consortium or the rest of the board were able to do a deal with I
It's
can't
either that
remember
or
his name.
Duff wouldn't have been at the club. No
Yeah,
way.
I think it was good for them that they were able to do a deal with that because we don't know how messy it could have got. They could have been at the stage of their chopping changing managers.
I
Duff
think
has
it would have
got
been
them
a
in
disaster.
yeah,
For,
Duff has got them in the fourth place. They're going to play in Europe next. They're going to play in Europe in the summer for the first time since 2006, I think.
6 minutes.
Um,
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, it is 2006. Yeah,
2006, I think, was the
yeah,
last time they played in Europe.
yeah.
So there's a lot. That's a generation of Shelbourne fans that haven't seen their team play in Europe. So it'll be exciting for them. Um, and it's just, like they've signed a lot of good players. So Waterford, like you look at the likes of Robbie McCourtin and Dara Leakey, and they're the kind of players that you would maybe expect the Bohemians. They sign if they were being let go
Mm.
from Dundalk.
And the fact that Waterford have actually paid fees for quite a few players is interesting.
Yeah.
First division team coming up
Yeah.
paying fees for players. Yeah, I think that's
I,
brilliant,
I,
by the way. But
I think it's brilliant too, and
because it moves money
I think
around the
that's
league and stuff.
I think that's the way the league has to go, Keith. To be
Yeah.
honest, if it's going to progress, look, we're not saying they have to go out and spend hundreds of thousands in transfer
You
fees,
get
but
fees on at least two players, possibly three.
yeah,
Massive.
I think it can only benefit the league, like because we, if we go back to a couple of years ago where we were in COVID, the FAI, I think it
Mm,
was rumored that the FAI was looking for the European teams.
mm.
They take a percentage of the European money and give it the other club to help them get through that period. Um, and what this is doing is I'll go and use Larne for example in the Northern Ireland Football League was they qualified for Europe for the first time in their history, and then they went and paid Portadown £100,000 for league bonus. Now they got
Mm.
they
Remember that.
roughly around €700,000 for in the European campaign. They used 100,000 and gave it to Portadown for their player. So there's that European money being shared around the league, and that's as you
Mm.
say, you touched on it there. The money's being shared around the league.
And see,
And
not only
and
that, but because most clubs are getting players on multiple year deals, it means now that if you really want a player now, you're going to have to pay a fee because
you're
it's
going to
not
have
as
to pay.
easy to get loads of players. There won't be loads of free agents of the quality that you might want available. So
No,
it's a lot of that's to do with the multiple
exactly,
year deals, I think. Like, you know what I mean?
exactly. And we have to get away from this. And I know John Daly had a rant about it the other week, is these release clauses in contracts that
Mm,
agents are insisting goes into their contracts.
mm.
I think they have to get away from that because we're not
It's
going to get
difficult to do because I think Bowes, Lambert of Bowes mentioned this a few years ago as well, and he got kind of slagged for it. But it's more a case for me, it's difficult to do because if you don't get all clubs to agree to it, then you could be missing out because, geez, now they're getting them, they're getting them, they're getting because we're going to be stubborn and not pay a clause, let's say. But then again, Sligo, I think, had a clause of about 250,000 for Johnny Kenny, and you kind of go, that's kind of okay. You know what I mean? It just depends on the clause. Whereas Tommy Lonergan was 60 grand, is probably too small, whatever, like, you know.
that,
But
that, that that's my point.
yeah.
When players are getting that installed in their contracts, clubs aren't getting the true value for their players.
But what should
Um,
happen there is, you're right, what should happen there is, say, in Lonergan's case, it shouldn't be a case of, oh, Pats won't give me the 60 grand, but they will. Say Bohemians, say Cork City, say Derry City. All clubs would have to come, and I find it difficult for all clubs to agree on that. I just not sure they
and
would.
clubs aren't going to agree on that because if a
No.
club thinks that, so say we'll use Tommy Lonergan for example. He went to Pats gave him the 60 grand. Maybe we're Bowes interested, but Bowes wouldn't give him the 60 grand release clause, and Pats got him over that. I understand that point of view, but if especially our top clubs like Derry, Rovers, St. Pat's are serious about making a better fist of it in Europe,
Mm.
etc., they need to hang on to their better players and not undersell them because they've installed a release clause in a contract that is totally does not meet the
And then
the,
you
the
ask the
valuation of the
question, are
player.
clubs just going
And
in
if
for these because
you
they're
look
cheap?
at the transfer fees throughout Europe, or every league in Europe,
Mm.
the transfer fees are inflating, but the League of
Yeah, they're
Ireland doesn't
there.
seem to be going anywhere. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Our transfer fees is basically stem where they were 5 years ago, where a player that we maybe sold for 100,000
Mm.
5 years ago, maybe should we be getting about 300,000 for them now?
Mm.
You
Not
know what
quite
I'm
getting
saying?
that,
So
really. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But the other
that's
point
what
there is actually, yeah, yeah, you're right. The other point there is that with the likes of Lonergan and the kind of the 60 grand, you're kind of going, would a Fleetwood go for him if he was even 150 grand? Are they just going for some of these players because they're cheap and they feel like there's no loss? Like if they don't do well, sure, you're only after giving them pittance. So there's
I
that.
think there's another. I think there's another reason why Fleetwood went from, but I'll keep
Yeah,
that
well,
to myself.
yeah,
But
yeah.
um,
Yeah. He could well be
I don't
on
think
his way to another Premier League division or Premier Division team in the summer. You know,
I don't think Fleetwood would ever went from if Waterford
we won't
couldn't
name
do a thing
names.
for him.
Only messing. Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah.
no, look,
Like
this
that's
is
yeah, that's the thing. Like I wouldn't generally like that, but that happens all over world football at a lot of clubs. Like you know, like the multi-club thing in terms of that. I'm not a big fan of it, but at the same time, I suppose we'll come to a prediction in this one. I can't go 1-1 for the third time, can I? 1-0 Shelburne.
I think as you touched on already, Shelburne are the best coach team. They're their best organized team. They
Defensively
they
very
come to
strong
Brandon.
as a unit.
They come to Brandywell, which is probably not far off being one of the biggest pitches in the league, and they make that pitch really, really small for Derry. So they do. Um, I think that
They couldn't
Derry
make
got
the
them.
Aviva that small though a couple of years ago.
That's what I was just about to say. Derry got them the Aviva and just
Yeah,
pulled them apart, and
yeah,
they
yeah. That
they,
said,
they
they probably
used the
improved since then, if I'm honest as well. Anyway, to be
oh
fair to them. Yeah,
100%.
yeah, they
They
have.
they use the League of Ireland pitches to their advantage, and look, let's not forget, Duff played under Jose Mourinho, who was probably one of the best tacticians in the game,
Definitely learned a bit
and
from him. You can see it.
yeah, exactly, and you can see a bit on his Shelburne team of when he has him organised that he played under him, and I think as you said, Keith Long is a manager who comes into Waterford with Premier Division experience, and Alan Reynolds as well.
Mm.
So they're going to be a well experienced coaching team. I think because Waterford, if this was at Poker Park, I would probably tip Shelburne. They won it, but because it's in the RFC, I'm going to tip it for a 1-1 draw.
Well, draw. I think you've had more draws than me nearly this time, but
Mm.
yeah, we're just playing it safe. But we'll leave it there, JP. Thanks for coming on, guys at
Cool.
home. Let us know what you think in the comments about any of the topics. Give us a few predictions as well. Fantastic to be back. Thanks for watching. Thanks, JP.
Thank you.